organism will have to possess some certain features that make them survive within their what environment. That means we have to have certain features within our body system that will make us survive within our what, our environment. That's what they call adaptation. Everybody is having certain things that makes them survive in their what in their environment. So how many type of adaptation do we have? And that's where you have to go. We have structural, we have behavioral, and then we have what now? You see some book that will say physiological, but that physiological is a pattern that I will tell you to write. Jamb know it as adaptive coloration. Okay, adaptive word coloration. So structural. Now, what does structural means? Follow me. Structural means it means that an organism is possessing a what now? Features that makes them to what now? It can either be observable or non what now? Observable. It can either be seen physically in the body structure or not physically seen in their body structure, but it's carrying out a what now? A function within their what? Their body. So structural is like it has to be a structure. It can be observable or not. Okay, it has to be. It can either be observable or not, but it's performing one certain what now function within the body, and it's found both in plants and it's found both in what animal. Let's go. Let's take a good example. We're dealing with structural now. I've told you before that the things you're supposed to do. This is called a desert plant. Okay, xerophyte, a desert plant. Apart from that, hydrophyte. A what? A water-loving plant. Halophyte. Halophyte is a what? A salt what? Loving plant. Apart from halophyte, you gotta know what it calls sciophyte. It's called a shady plant. When it's a shady plant, that means it has a cover. Those are your covered crops, okay? And then you got massophyte. Your massophyte is your moist and dry plant. Now, what I'm expecting you to know is that I can actually group this thing. Yeah. Yes. The fight. Yeah. So what I expect you to know here now is you can actually group this thing into two types of plants. Aquatic plant or what now? Terrestrial plant. So basically, these guys will be grouped under what the aquatic plant. Alophyte and what now? Alophyte. Why these guys can be grouped under what now? Terrestrial plant. Okay? Are we together now? I can actually group the hydrophyte and the alophyte into what now? Aquatic plants, because they always find inside water. And then xerophyte and sciophyte, which are my plants that are on land. Now, massophyte is moist but or dry plant. You will surely see them in a place that is on the ground. So it's a terrestrial plant. We get so now the next thing they expect you to know is what characteristics are you going to tell us about? So I'll group them in a way for you to understand. How am I grouping them? The major characteristics you're supposed to put in your head as a student. I want to know, write this Jamb or Waec or any other good exam. Now, the first thing I want you to put in your head is that let's talk about the characteristics of, remember we're dealing with structural adaptation in plants now. Okay, let me make it more edible so that you won't go and miss it. Structural adaptation in plants. Structural adaptation and plan. Okay. Now, what adaptation am I dealing with? I want to start with what the aquatic plants. Now, if I'm an aquatic plant, what am I supposed to have? I'm always found inside water. I'm found inside water all the time. Am I going to have a well-developed root? No, man, I can't have that. Because why? What's the function of the root? To help you anchor and then absorb what the nutrients. Do you get? That's the function of the word, the root. Absorb what the nutrients. You don't need a what? A, a very good root. So all aquatic plants have a poorly what? Developed what? Root. Why? Why do they possess that? Because all nutrients will what now? Will flat or what? Which can either be translocated into their what now? Don't get me wrong. I said they have a poorly developed root. I didn't say they don't have roots. It's just poorly what now developed. Why? Because they found inside what? Water, where it consists of all the what? Nutrients. Do we get it now? Now, number two, possession of airspace. Now, possession of airspace. Now, that airspace is for what they call airspace. Is for what they used to try to do their gaseous water now exchange, but it helped them inside the water. Possession of airspace. I'm going to tell you the major reason to help them inside the water for. They call it for buoyancy. 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 But listen to me. You see this buoyancy? A tissue known as what? A tissue known as arenchymatous what? Tissue. Arenchymatous tissue helps water plants, halophyte or halophyte, to do their buoyancy well. Okay? So please, this inside that this thing I wrote now, it's inside your question. Okay? The plant which are found within water having air spaces is for what? Answer is for what? The for buoyancy. Who does the action of that buoyancy for them? Answer arenchymatous what now? Tissues. We're together now. So that's something you must. The only two things I need to put in your head is arenchymatous tissue and what now? Buoyancy. That's all. This is what arenchymatous what now? Tissue. Okay, it's good. It's not that hard to pronounce. Arenchymatous what now? Tissue. Arenchymatous what? Tissue. It's not that hard. All right. Now, then they go again. They possession of leaf. Now they have thick leaf. They are not. Sorry, they have thin leaf. Possession of thick leaves. Yeah, thick. In fact, I'll put thick and what and broad. Body for what? For transpiration. Them are not ready to. They don't have that time. They don't want to conserve what now? Water. They are inside water now. So why are they conserving? They don't have the time. We let the leaf lose water to what now? To transpiration. They can even do glutation. They lose off the water from the stem. Okay. All right. So, and then number 4 is the look at the plant. Where would their own photosynthesis take place? It will take place in the what now? In their leaf. Their own photosynthesis takes place in their what? In their leaf. Do you understand? They carry out the photosynthesis in their what? In their leaves. Okay. Now, and then, what's the last thing I'm going to tell you for them? Aquatic plant. Remember that An halophyte, which is a salt-loving plant, is found inside water. You will have what they call what now silt root. I call it silt root, and a salty gland. That is where you'll find their what now? Their salt. That's the place you'll find their what? Their salt. Okay? That's the place you'll find their what? The salt. So if you know this for aquatic plants, my dear, my people, you good to go. You know this for aquatic plant, my people, you're good to go. Now, let's go over to terrestrial plant now. They have a lot of questions they like asking in the terrestrial part of it. You know why? Because they try to understand that people don't like to look into it. You know. Now let me tell you one thing. You gotta be smart. Biology is like a subject that the Jamb person setting biology understand that it will set 40% of animal parts and set 60% of what now plants. Why? Because you ate the plant part. You say it's boring to what to read. So because I know that it's boring to read to you students, I will focus more on what on that. That's why I'm doing their thing. So they look for all the plant questions that you don't like to talk about, and then they focus on it. So they give you your 40% of the one you love, and then put 60% of the one you don't love. But however, whether plant or animal, we got you covered here. So terrestrial plant. The first thing is this: because I'm a terrestrial plant, I won't want to lose more of my water, especially when I'm a xerophytic plant. A xerophytic plant means a desert plant. I can't be possessing broadleaf. If I possess broadleaf, I can't conserve what now? Water. A xerophytic plant, a xerophytic plant possess what? It possesses what now? A very what now? Thin leaf. For what? For what? Conservation of what? Conservation of what? Of water. Apart from conservation of water, they also possess that same thin leaf to what? To prevent loss of water through what? Through transpiration. Okay? Then number two is that this same xerophytic plant, you know what they do? The next thing they will do now is they will convert leaves, the leaves, to tons. They'll convert it to tons for what? For water what? Conservation. They have to turn all their water to leaf for water what? Conservation. Are we together now? Then they've understood something too. Possession of what? Possession of thick back. They call it thick back. For what? For fire what? Resistance. Possession of thick back for fire what? Resistance. Possession of thick back for fire what? Resistance. So they will possess thick back for fire what now? Resistance. Are we good now? Okay. After that, the next thing is after they'll be able to do that. You know, I told you that for these guys, their own photosynthesis by what? In their leaf. These guys, remember, look at it. They've converted their leaves to what? To tons. So they won't try to carry out photosynthesis with leaf. Because all you're trying to do, especially yourself, plant is, I don't want to lose more water. I don't have more water. You get, so look at two things I want to tell you now. They will take the photosynthesis, they will take it to the what now, to the stem. And then the next thing is they will now have a long and extensive what now, roots. Why? So that it can help them anchor and help them absorb the necessary what now, nutrients. That's it. So possession of long and extensive roots for what now? Absorption of nutrients. And their possession of what now? Stem for their what? For the word sentences. That's the two things you join it. Again, a long and extensive what now root for absorption of what now? Nutrients. And then you're going to tell them that they do their own photosynthesis in their what? In the stem. You get it? So we just have to tell you how he is here. So I've given you like 6 of it. Basically, that's what they want you to work to armor into your word, into your cerebrum. Are we together now? Okay. I'm gonna in the next class, I'm gonna try to do like systems. I know we haven't done some, I've done some systems. We'll have to do maybe respiratory, excretory. Those topics are very short. You don't have a long thing to read in that. I'll tell you what you just need to know, put it in your head, and whenever they ask the question, my dear, you pass your heart of them. Okay? Now, I'm done with the main thing they want you to know in the structural adaptation in word and plant. But there's some things they want you to know in the animals. And so, and especially the animals they're talking about is the vertebrata. Why your vertebrata? Those that have what? Their backbones. A good example is the Pisces, the amphibians, the reptiles, the what? The apes, and what? You mammals. Okay? So, how do I do that? I'm going to talk about the Pisces now. So we're going to structural adaptation in animals. Structural adaptation in animals. So the first guy we want to talk about is your Pisces. The first thing is, let's say, possession of gills. Possession of gills for what? For gaseous what? Exchange. Then possession of fins for, sorry, possession of fins for movement. Okay, this is for movement. Now number 3, possession of lateral lines for sensitivity. Now don't mistake streamy bladder and streamlined bodies. I don't know why you guys do that nonsense mistake. Streamy bladder and streamlined bodies. Just like aricomatous tissues is for buoyancy. In fishes which live inside water, they don't need aricomatous tissues. They use their what now? Swimming bladder. So when they are inside their what now? Their habitat, the swimming bladder helps them in what? In buoyancy, the swell. Okay? But streamlined body. So when the body is streamlined, it helps them from easy word now movement. So streamlined body, easy movement. Swimming bladder, what? Good. Buoyancy. Are we together? Okay. So I've mentioned the major thing they want you to know there, and that's the major thing you should put in your head. I've mentioned all the structural factors there. Okay. Are we together? Now, some people say possession of operculum. I know operculum is needed to help you close the spot when water is entering into the water now through the mouth. Okay, so that it won't go to the gill filament where the gaseous exchange takes place. You get it, but leave that side. You just have to put that aside. Okay. Good. The next one is, I'm seeing if I could just quickly show you some questions here, but let's just move. The next one is, we're going to move to amphibians. Amphibians now, amphibians now. Amphibians, amphibians. So amphibians now, amphibians, amphibians. The only thing people love to talk about is toad and what? And frog. And in reality, that's the most thing they ask. But there are other example of amphibian salamander. Salamander, they have newt. Okay, a good example of these guys here. Okay, so now let's go. What does these guys have? Tell me, what do they have? Amphibians. You know, amphibians enjoy themselves both on land or water. You know. So now, what is the first thing I need to understand? Amphibians to possess gills. Okay, but that's their tadpoles. The tadpoles, their young ones. Okay. All right. Now, because the tadpole possess fins, they will see the fins is for gaseous word exchange. Okay. Now, let's get it right. They possess fins, good. But you know they have a protruded tongue, a long tongue. So what now? To catch their prey. They use it to feed on what now? Insect. Who has that? Answer is frog. Okay? But toad has a head that is very shiny and spotted. And that shiny head possesses what now? A poisonous gland. And that gland is what the toad uses for what now? Offense and what? Defense. So when an animal is coming to eat the toad will just shine his head and like, come, if you want to eat me, you're gonna die. Because I contain some poisonous gland on my what? On my head. Okay? Now they have scaly and moisty what now? Skin. They use that in their what now? In their cutaneous what now? Gaseous exchange. When I say cutaneous means cutaneous gaseous exchange. When I say cutaneous, cutaneous means it means that what now? Skin. That's the skin what now? Exchange. Okay? That's your skin exchange. Are we together? Okay. So now the next thing that happens then is, you know, this is how this guy do the jump. They say, but we don't call them jump. We call it hopping. They have to hop. So when they hop, hopping. So they hop to do what? In their own way of what? Movement. Are we get?